Cinnabar, Chapter 13, Musket Fire. It was exactly as Vicky had said. Farmer Plunkett's henyard was in a sorry condition. Not only was the fence in a higgledy state, but the yard itself was a scraggle of brush and weeds. Thinking now of his promise to Vicky, Cinnabar slithered his way deeper into the henyard. He would select the choicest bird in the flock and carry it off in spite of his pursuers. The sun was dipping down behind the far hills, but before it slid from sight, it picked out a hen in a setting mood. She had built her nest in a hideaway place, but the last long sun shafts found her. Cinnabar considered a moment as she regarded him with her red-rimmed eyes. Then his mind pulled away from the thought. No, he decided, I will not snatch her up. Where's the sport in taking a setting hen? I will not do it. And besides, he reminded himself, setting hens are poor pickings. Vicky wants her birds young and juicy. Moving stealthily, he inched his way to the center of the yard and crouched there quite concealed among the weeds. He had not long to wait. As horses and hounds neared, the hypnotized chickens suddenly came alive, and a whole running parade streamed right at Cinnabar. They were led by a gay-feathered, high-stepping cockerel who pumped along at a jerky 1-2 gait. He's my bird, Cinnabar whispered joyfully, young and fleshy and too cocky for his own good. And just when Cinnabar was up on his toes, ready for the pounce, a musket ball whistled by his ear. It was close as a hair. Where it hit, Cinnabar had no idea. All he knew was that the whole yard became a whirlwind of fluttering, squawking chickens. With perfect timing, he sprang into the melee, grabbed the cockerel in midair, and bolted out of the yard in full view of a groom riding toward the hunt. The groom, who had been trying to catch up, was leading a fresh pair of horses for the general and Billy Lee. The horses were so eager to join the chase that Cinnabar took a great risk in dashing between their nervous feet. There he goes, cried the groom as the fleeing Cinnabar narrowly escaped a second round of musket fire. Cinnabar was puzzled as he ran. The bird in his mouth was not flapping and struggling, but hung limp and quiet. He did not know that the shot intended for him had instantly killed the cock. His day almost complete, Cinnabar thought he had never been so happy. He was homeward bound. His heart was full of home, and in his mouth the nice prize for Vicky and the pups. What if musket shot whirred and whined around his head? It couldn't stop him. Nothing could. He flew in and out among the farm buildings, past the wagon shed, the woodshed, the wash house, past the smokehouse and the pigsty. There was danger in coming this way, but it was quicker and it would slow the hounds. As he cut around the farmhouse, he planned his course carefully. He would head for the north branch of Dog Run, float downstream to his own woods, and then he'd be only a hoot and a holler from home. He looked back and saw the general hastily changing horses. Even with his mouth full of feathers, Cinnabar managed a throaty chuckle. He had worn out the general's mount, and now he was losing the farmer in his very own farmyard. Mr. Plunket had stumbled over a tree root, discharged his musket, and scattered the hounds galley west. For nearly half a mile, Cinnabar trotted a straight-away line for the creek. It was an easy downhill course, easy underfoot, with few ridgy places to hurt his torn pad. But as he tired from his burden, it seemed farther than he had thought. At times he went knee-deep in grass, with milkweed pods waving above his head and late asters nodding. And the longer he traveled, the heavier the bird seemed, for it was dead weight, fully 1/3 of his own. It pulled his head down, and a tiredness began washing over him like a wave. Only a little while ago he had been full of chuckles. Now he felt small and burdened and alone under a vast sky. The evening wind blew up to him from the creek. He clenched his jaws tighter on the cock. Cinny! He tried to make believe Vicky was calling to him. Cinny, it is only a little piece farther to the creek. You can make it, Cinny. You can make it. I know you can. The yipping cries of Sweet Lips and the hounds broke into his thoughts. He looked back again and saw the grass swaying, and he knew that the pack was pressing hard. He made his legs go, the good foot, the hurt foot, hind left with front right, hind right with front left. A little more and a little more. I believe in you, Cinnabar. Trot, trot, trot faster, faster. Only seconds ahead of the hounds, he reached the swift-flowing creek. Here it was, his old friend, the creek, rippling and laughing up at him. He slipped into its cool wetness, tightening his hold on the cock as if it might come alive and fly away. He looked over his shoulder, measuring his distance from the hounds, and then he looked ahead to home. He could still make it. He turned over now, letting the current cradle him. It carried him surely, steadily, yet how gentle it was, how very gentle. He looked up at the dusky heavens. A few stars winked at him. He guessed he knew now how it must feel to be a cloud, a little cloud floating in a deep sky. He held the cock with his forepaws and just drifted along as the busy creek flowed on to meet the river. Wearily he closed his eyes, enjoying a moment of restfulness. His bushy tail lay floating stilly upon the water, so that when the hunters were close enough to sight him, they wondered, can he be Dad? As if in reply, Cinnabar wheeled around, snatched the cock in his teeth again, and swam strongly to the far bank. His quick movements set off a whole chain of explosions behind him. Hounds plunged into the water, and one by one, 30 horsemen began fording the creek. The very air went wild with noise. Men's cries mingled with the screaming of hounds and the plash of hoofs. It was like thunder crashing nearer and nearer. Quick, Cinnabar, across the meadow and into your woods. Quick, into the woods for your life. Now, legs pounding. Now, legs pumping. Go, go, go. The air burned his nose as he sucked it in. The cock grew heavier and heavier, and its spindly legs seemed to grow longer and longer. They flapped against him, getting in his way so that his gait lost its rhythm. Behind him, the whirl of hounds whipped closer and closer. They were hammering his trail with fierce joy. They would catch him unless... The question spun in his mind. Drop the cockerel? Drop it? No. Run. You might make it. Earth coming at him, winds coming at him, big pines coming away for him. This way, Cinnabar, this way. The trees must be moving. The whole forest streamed past him. So fast was his pace. His lungs seemed on fire, but he was going to make it. From his game heart, he drew the last ounce of strength. In one breathless spurt, he reached the old familiar sassafras thicket. And then, oh, praises be, he was almost drawn inside his den by the curling fingers of his own clump of ferns. As in a dream, he heard the voice of George Washington rocketing through the woods. The 1 o'clock fox is going to earth. Call off your hounds, Billy Lee. 'Twas a magnificent run. With a gay swish of his brush, Cinnabar disappeared into the black hollow of his den. More plainly than any words, it said, "Thank you, one and all. Thank you, sweet lips, and you, General Washington, and all you hounds and gentlemen." Then dropping the cock, he spun around and poked his elfin face out of the earth. "I had jolly fun, too," he barked to the hunters. Then he frisked his black whiskers, gave them all a wide grin, and was gone.